Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Speak Unstoppable, your very own safe and cozy space where we learn English not just through grammar, but through real-life stories and honest feelings. I'm Maria.
And I'm John. We are so happy you've chosen to spend your valuable time with us today. Maria, I have to be completely honest with you. Just looking at today's title on my script made my hands a little sweaty.
Oh, John, you are definitely not alone in that feeling. Today, we are diving into a topic that touches everyone: managing your first money. Whether it's your very first paycheck from a new job, a small allowance from your parents, or simply the first time in your life you felt truly responsible for that number in your bank account.
It's a huge deal, isn't it? It feels like becoming an adult overnight. And for most of us, let's be real, it's a bit of an emotional roller coaster. One day you feel rich, and the next day you're counting coins for bread.
It truly is a roller coaster. But before we dive deep into the numbers, friends, I want you to do something with us. Take a deep breath. Get comfortable. Maybe grab a warm cup of tea or coffee. Remember, this is a no-stress zone. You do not need to understand every single word we say today. Just let the English flow around you like a gentle river. Even if you miss a few words, don't worry. The heart of the story and the meaning will stay with you.
That's right. No exams here. Just listen, relax, and let's talk about life.
So, John, before we get into budgets and savings accounts, let's do our usual check-in. How was your morning really? You look a bit thoughtful, or maybe even a little distracted today.
You always notice, don't you? Yeah, I woke up quite early today. But instead of my usual routine of jumping out of bed and checking my emails, I just sat by the window. I had my coffee in my hands, and I just watched the birds for about 20 minutes. No phone, no news notifications, no noise. It made me realize how much mental noise I usually carry around regarding my daily tasks and, well, my expenses.
That sounds absolutely beautiful, John. A quiet return to yourself. I actually had a very similar moment at the local bakery this morning. I was standing in line, and instead of checking my phone, I just closed my eyes and noticed the smell of fresh, warm bread. I had this sudden realization that these tiny, free moments are the real wealth we possess.
That is a perfect word to start our journey today. Because today we are talking about money, yes, but more importantly, we are talking about the human feelings that live behind the money.
Exactly. Money is just paper, but our feelings about it are very real. John, do you remember the exact moment you received your very first paycheck?
Oh, Maria, how could I ever forget that? I felt like the king of the world. I walked out of that office holding that piece of paper, and in my mind, I had already spent that money 10 times over. I felt invincible. I went straight to the mall, bought a pair of expensive leather shoes I definitely didn't need. I took all my friends out for a fancy dinner, and then,
And then? What happened when the weekend was over?
just 3 days later, I was sitting at my kitchen table, looking at my empty wallet, and wondering if I could even afford the bus ride to work on Monday. I felt so small. I felt like I had failed a very important test, a test I didn't even know I was supposed to be taking. I felt embarrassed.
Oh, John, I have been exactly where you were. My first money mistake was a classic one. I used to think that money was a toy, something to play with, rather than a tool to build a life. I remember spending my first salary on so many small, useless things, what we call clutter in English. Little decorations, extra clothes, fancy gadgets. I kept buying until I realized, with a shock, that I didn't have enough left for my actual rent. It was a massive eye-opener for me.
Eye-opener. I love that phrase. It's like a bright light suddenly turning on in a dark, messy room. You finally see the truth of the situation, even if it's a bit scary.
Yes, it's that moment of clarity. And that brings us to our first big, speak unstoppable idea for today. I want everyone listening to visualize this. Think of your money like water in a bottle.
Okay, I'm visualizing it. Money is water. I have one bottle.
Exactly. Imagine you have only one bottle of water to last you the entire day. If you get bored in the first hour and decide to pour half of it on the floor just for fun, you are going to be desperately thirsty by the evening. Managing money isn't about restricting your joy or being a boring person. It's simply about making sure you have enough water left for the whole journey, especially the parts that are uphill.
So it's not just about saying no to the things I want. It's about saying a bigger yes to the things that actually matter for my future.
Exactly. You've hit the nail on the head. But the real struggle isn't the math, it's our inner critic. That little voice in our head that whispers, "You've worked so hard, John. You deserve that $800 watch." Or, "Look at your neighbor. He has a better car. You need to catch up."
Oh, that voice is so incredibly loud, Maria. Especially these days with social media. You open an app and you see everyone's highlight reel. You see their best vacations, their new designer bags, their perfect dinners. You don't see their debt or their stress. You only see the perfection. And you start to feel like you are somehow falling behind in life.
That is what we call the comparison trap. It is a trap because we are comparing our behind-the-scenes reality with someone else's carefully edited fake image. And the tragedy is, this trap makes us spend money we don't even have, to buy things we don't even really want, just to impress people we don't even truly like.
Wow. Maria, that really hits home. Spending money we don't have to impress people we don't like. That is a sentence I need to write down in my journal. It's a very common trap, isn't it?
It is. And if you are listening to us right now, and you are feeling a heavy weight of guilt or shame about your past money mistakes, please, just take a breath with us. It is okay. You are human. Your worth as a human being, your value, your heart, your soul, is not and will never be connected to the balance in your bank account.
I really, really needed to hear that today, Maria. Thank you. Because sometimes, when I can't afford something, I feel like a bad adult or a failure.
Not at all. A money mistake is not a character flaw, it's just information. Think of it as a stepping stone on your path to wisdom. It's just showing you where you might need to adjust your standard.
Standard. Our invisible rules for what we accept in our lives.
Precisely. So, how do we actually build a better standard without feeling like we are punishing ourselves? The first tool I want to give our listeners is something I call intentional noticing. It's very simple. Before you buy anything that isn't food or medicine, you must stop. You must wait exactly 24 hours. During those hours, you ask yourself, is this a real need that adds value to my life? Or is this just a distraction from a bad mood?
24 hours? Maria, that is so difficult when you are standing in a bright shop and everything looks so shiny and perfect. It feels like if I don't buy it now, I'll lose it.
I know that emergency feeling, but that 24-hour rule acts like a filter. It allows the chemical excitement in your brain, the dopamine, to settle down so you can see with your heart and your mind. Often, by the next morning, you wake up and realize you don't even want that object anymore. You've saved your water for something better.
That is a brilliant way to avoid buyer's remorse. That's the phrase for that sick feeling in your stomach after you spend money on something useless, right?
Yes, buyer's remorse is a heavy, dark feeling. Our goal at Speak Unstoppable is to help you replace that remorse with financial peace.
Financial peace sounds like a dream. But, Maria, what about the people who already feel swamped? You know, people who feel like they are underwater because their bills are higher than their income.
When you feel swamped, the worst thing you can do is run away and ignore the mail. The best thing is to cut to the chase. Stop staring at the giant, scary mountain of debt and just look at your very next small, tiny step.
A tiny step? But how can a tiny step fix a big mountain?
By tracking the small leaks. I call these micro expenses. That $6 coffee every morning, that $15 subscription for a gym you haven't visited in 6 months, that extra snack you buy because you're bored. These are the tiny holes in your water bottle. If you plug the small holes, you'll be shocked at how much longer your water lasts.
You know what? I actually did this last week. I checked my bank statement and I was paying for 2 different movie streaming services, and I don't even have time to watch TV. I felt so frazzled and angry at myself at first, but once I clicked cancel, I felt so much lighter. It was like I had more air to breathe.
That is exactly it. You successfully wiggled out of a bad habit that was draining your energy.
Wiggled out of. I love that phrase. It makes me feel like I'm escaping from a sticky, annoying trap.
John, I want to talk about something a bit deeper now. Many of us use spending as a shield. When we feel lonely or stressed at work or sad about a relationship, we go out and treat ourselves to something new. We think we are being kind to ourselves.
Yeah, I do that. It feels like a temporary bandage on a wound.
Exactly. But a bandage doesn't heal a deep wound. We have to realize that true self-love isn't found in a shopping bag. Self-love is actually the boundary you set for your future self. It is the act of saying, I love myself enough to make sure that future John isn't stressed, hungry, or worried next month.
Self-love is a boundary. Wow. Maria, that is a life-changing thought. So, when I save $50, I'm not losing $50 today. I'm sending a gift of peace to my future self.
Precisely. You are protecting your future energy and your future freedom.
This is making so much sense. It's changing how I see my wallet. But, Maria, what if someone is just starting their English journey too? They feel overwhelmed by the vocabulary of money. Interest rates, savings, investments, it's all so much.
I always tell my students, haste makes waste. Please don't try to understand the entire global economy or the whole English dictionary in one weekend. Just try to be $10 smarter this week. Just try to use one new phrase from this podcast today.
Haste makes waste. My grandmother used to say that constantly when I was a child. If you rush through a task, you make sloppy mistakes, and then you have to spend double the time and double the money fixing those mistakes later.
Exactly. Slow and steady. Just like our podcast. We aren't rushing. We are growing.
I'm feeling so much more rejuvenated and hopeful now, Maria. Usually, when people talk about money, it feels like a scary lecture or a math class. But this feels like a plan for a better life.
I am so happy to hear that, John, because you and every single person listening to us deserve a wholesome relationship with your life and your finances. A life with no unnecessary drama, no heart-pounding stress, just a gentle, steady, and unstoppable path forward.
A wholesome life. That is exactly what I want.
Now, my dear friends, let's take a calm moment for our signature Speak Unstoppable word tour. We used some very powerful expressions today, and I want us to revisit them slowly so they can really settle into your memory.
I'll start the tour. Our first stop is eye-opener. An eye-opener is a situation or a fact that suddenly makes you realize the truth about something. Example: realizing I spent $200 on takeout food last month was a huge eye-opener for me. Your turn. Has this podcast been an eye-opener for your English journey?
Beautiful. Our second stop is swamped. When you are swamped, you feel completely overwhelmed by too much of something, usually work or bills. Example: I felt swamped by all the unexpected expenses this winter. Your turn. When you feel swamped, remember to take a deep breath and do just one small thing.
Next up is wiggle out of. This is a fun way to say you escaped or avoided a responsibility or a bad situation in a clever way. Example: I managed to wiggle out of buying that expensive phone by reminding myself of my 24-hour rule. Your turn. What is one bad habit you want to wiggle out of this week?
And then we have the proverb, haste makes waste. This means if you do something too quickly because you are in a rush, you will end up making mistakes that waste even more time or money. Example: I rushed to buy that car without checking the engine, and haste makes waste. It broke down the next day.
I love this one. Rejuvenated. This means to feel fresh, young, and full of new energy again. Example: after I made a simple budget, I felt rejuvenated and ready to face the month. Your turn. Does a quiet morning with coffee make you feel rejuvenated?
And our final stop is wholesome. Something is wholesome when it is simple, pure, and very good for your emotional health. Example: spending a quiet evening reading a book is a very wholesome way to save money. Your turn. We hope this conversation felt wholesome for you today.
Maria, I think we have truly covered a lot of ground today. My hands aren't sweaty anymore. I feel like I have a map now.
Me too, John. And to you, the person listening to my voice right now, I want to say a sincere thank you. Thank you for giving us your time and your attention. You did not waste these minutes today. You invested them. You invested them in your mind, your English, and your future.
You really did. And we are incredibly proud of you for showing up for yourself. It's not easy to face these topics, but you did it.
Here is your small, unstoppable challenge for today. In the comments section below, tell us just one thing that is a money thief or a time thief in your life. Or, if you're feeling brave, write one sentence using a word from our word tour.
We read every single comment with a smile. It reminds us that we are not just voices in a microphone. We are a community growing together.
Before we go, always remember, the way you treat your money and the way you treat yourself is a choice you make every day. Choose peace. Choose growth.
This has been the Speak Unstoppable podcast. I'm John.
And I'm Maria. If this episode touched your heart or helped your English, please hit that like button and subscribe to join our cozy family.
Until next time, take care of your heart, your mind, and your wallet.
Bye-bye for now.
Goodbye.